The wind howled across the open field, carrying the deep hum of rotor blades slicing through the evening air. A sleek black helicopter sat gleaming under the orange sunset, its blades slowly spinning, waiting. A crowd of employees gathered near the helipad, whispering and pointing toward the man standing beside it, a tall, bearded homeless man with tired eyes and a faded jacket that had clearly seen too many winters. And across from him stood Vanessa Cole, the young and arrogant CEO of Cole Aerodynamics, one of the most powerful aerospace companies in the country. Her heels clicked sharply on the pavement as she smirked, crossing her arms and saying the words that would soon shake her world. "Fly this chopper, and I'll marry you." The crowd gasped, half laughing, half stunned. To them, it was just another one of Vanessa's cruel jokes. A way to show dominance, to humiliate someone she thought beneath her. The man said nothing. His gaze was calm, too calm for someone being mocked. The corners of his lips lifted slightly, not in anger but in quiet confidence. For a moment, it unsettled her, though she quickly brushed it off. "Come on," Vanessa said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "I'll even give you $10,000 if you can just lift it off the ground without crashing it. You're a homeless man, right? That's life-changing money." She laughed, her colleagues following her lead. The man didn't move. Instead, he slowly walked toward the helicopter, his steps steady and deliberate. The crowd's laughter faded as they realized he wasn't backing down. No one knew his name. He'd been spotted for weeks around the company gates, sometimes sleeping near the hangar, sometimes helping security guards carry supplies in exchange for leftover food. To most, he was invisible. To Vanessa, he was just another reminder of how far above she stood. But that was about to change. As the man climbed into the pilot's seat, Vanessa folded her arms tighter, expecting a disaster. But when his hands touched the controls, something shifted. His posture straightened, his eyes sharpened, and for a fleeting second, Vanessa saw something familiar in the way he moved, something she couldn't quite place. The crowd murmured. "He knows what he's doing," someone whispered. The engine roared to life. The man flicked a series of switches with practiced precision, and before anyone could react, the helicopter lifted off, smooth, controlled, effortless. Gasps filled the air as dust swirled around the helipad. Vanessa's smile vanished. He wasn't guessing. He wasn't fumbling. He was flying like someone who had done this 1,000 times before. Vanessa's heart raced as she watched the chopper rise higher into the darkening sky. Her mind spun with confusion and disbelief. Who was he? How could a homeless man know how to fly a helicopter? Her company's prototype, no less, with such flawless control. When the man hovered above the crowd and turned the chopper gracefully, he looked down at her through the glass, his eyes meeting hers with quiet authority. Then, through the headset, his voice came over the loudspeaker, steady, deep, and strangely familiar. "Still as proud as ever, aren't you, Vanessa?" Her face went pale. The sound of that voice sent a chill through her veins. She knew it. But how could it be him? And just like that, the helicopter turned toward the horizon, leaving everyone staring up in stunned silence. The sound of the helicopter faded into the distance, leaving a stunned silence over the field. The employees stood frozen, their faces a mix of awe and disbelief. Vanessa couldn't move. Her heart was still pounding from the echo of that voice. So familiar, so haunting. It couldn't be who she thought it was. Just couldn't. She blinked rapidly, her mind racing through memories she had buried years ago, memories she swore she'd never face again. Her assistant, Jordan, broke the silence first. "Ma'am, who was that?" he asked quietly. Vanessa didn't answer. She turned on her heel and walked back toward the building, her heels clicking faster this time, her expression tight and unreadable. But inside, her thoughts were spiraling. Back in her glass-walled office overlooking the city, Vanessa stood staring out the window. The night lights flickered below, but her eyes were far away. She replayed the moment over and over, the man's steady hands, the way he spoke her name. How did a man living on the streets know her? And more importantly, how did he know how to fly her company's most advanced prototype helicopter, one that only a few licensed test pilots had even touched. Vanessa Cole was known for her composure. She'd taken her father's small aviation company and turned it into a billion-dollar empire. People called her ruthless, ambitious, brilliant, and maybe she was all those things. But what no one knew was that she had built that strength out of pain, out of years of trying to escape the shadow of a man who once taught her everything about flying before disappearing without a trace. She tried to push the thought away. "It's impossible," she whispered to herself. "He's gone." But deep down, a voice inside her whispered back, "What if he's not?" The next morning, security footage from the helipad spread across social media. "Homeless man flies billionaire CEO's chopper flawlessly," the headlines read. Reporters flooded the gates of Cole Aerodynamics, calling it the mystery of the year. Vanessa's PR team begged her to make a statement, but she refused. Instead, she locked herself in her office, scrolling through the footage frame by frame. Then she saw it, the man's face clearly for a split second before he put on the headset. Her breath caught in her throat. The sharp jawline, the calm eyes, the faint scar near his temple. Her pulse quickened. It couldn't be a coincidence. That was Captain Elijah Cole, her father's former flight instructor, and the man who vanished the night her father's helicopter crashed 15 years ago. But how? She leaned back in her chair, trying to steady herself. Everyone believed Elijah died in that crash. He had been her mentor when she was a teenager, the one who taught her to fly, who believed she could be more than the privileged daughter of a businessman. Then one stormy night, both he and her father took off for a test flight that never returned. Only the wreckage was found. Her father's body was recovered. Elijah's wasn't. And now, out of nowhere, he was back, pretending to be homeless. Why? Vanessa's thoughts were interrupted by a knock on her door. Jordan stepped in, looking uneasy. "Ma'am, there's someone waiting downstairs. He said you'd want to hear what he knows about the man who flew your helicopter." Vanessa's heart skipped a beat. She hesitated, then stood, straightening her blazer. "Tell him I'll be right there," she said quietly. As she made her way down the glass stairway, the lights flickering above her, a strange feeling settled in her chest, a mix of fear and curiosity. Whoever that man was downstairs, he might hold the key to the truth she'd spent half her life avoiding. But something in her gut whispered a warning. Once she heard it, there would be no going back. Vanessa walked into the lobby, her heels echoing against the marble floor. The man waiting there looked out of place among the glass walls and designer suits. He wore a faded bomber jacket and carried a small duffel bag that had seen better days. His eyes, though tired, were sharp, like someone who had spent years watching, waiting. He stood as she approached. "Miss Cole," he said, his tone calm but measured. "My name's David Knox. I used to work with Captain Elijah Cole." The name hit her like a punch. Her steps faltered. What did you just say?" "I said I knew him," David replied. "And I think you deserve to know the truth about what happened to him. And your father." Vanessa's breath caught. "This isn't the place," she said quietly. "Follow me." They moved into a private conference room. The moment the door closed, David unzipped his bag and placed an old leather flight logbook on the table. Vanessa recognized the handwriting instantly. It was Elijah's. Her fingers hovered over the cover but didn't touch it. "I don't understand," she said. "He's dead. They never found him." David shook his head slowly. "That's what they wanted you to believe." Vanessa frowned. "They? Your father's board. The government contractors tied to Cole Aerodynamics. Elijah found something that wasn't supposed to exist." She crossed her arms, her voice steady though her heart raced. "You're saying my father's company was part of something illegal?" David looked her dead in the eye. "I'm saying he tried to stop it. And so did Elijah. But when the crash happened, it wasn't an accident." The room went still. Outside, the hum of city traffic faded beneath the weight of his words. Vanessa's mind spun. She remembered the night vividly. The storm, the news of the crash, her mother's screams. Everything after that had been a blur. Her father's death had changed everything. She'd built her entire empire to honor his name. And now, this stranger was telling her that everything she believed might be a lie. David leaned forward. The chopper your father and Elijah flew that night. Its flight recorder was never recovered. But Elijah survived. Barely. They tried to silence him. He disappeared before they could finish the job. Vanessa's chest tightened. You're saying he's been hiding all these years? Hiding and watching, David said. He's been waiting for the right moment to expose them. And now, with your prototype, he's sending a message. Vanessa looked at the logbook again, her hands trembling slightly. Why come to me now? Because he can't do it alone anymore, David said softly. And because he still cares about you. He said you'd become just like your father, brilliant but blind to the truth. She felt a sharp sting in her chest. He doesn't know me anymore. David studied her for a moment. Then prove him wrong. Before she could respond, Jordan burst through the door, pale-faced and out of breath. Vanessa, turn on the news. Now. The TV on the wall flickered to life, showing aerial footage of a helicopter flying low over the city. The same prototype that had vanished yesterday. And inside it, clear as day through the glass canopy, was the same homeless man, Elijah. The anchor's voice trembled through the speakers. Authorities confirm the aircraft belongs to Cole Aerodynamics. The pilot has made contact with air traffic control, demanding to speak directly with the company's CEO. Vanessa froze. The room seemed to close in around her. Her phone started vibrating. Calls from the board, the FAA, her PR team, but she didn't move. Her gaze stayed fixed on the screen, on the man she thought she'd lost forever. David's voice broke through the tension. He's not here to hurt you, Vanessa. He's here to show you the truth. But the truth might destroy everything you've built. And as the helicopter hovered over the skyline, Vanessa realized the past she'd buried was coming back, not quietly, but roaring through the sky for the whole world to see. Vanessa's pulse thundered in her ears as the helicopter hovered over the city skyline. The screen showed police choppers circling it from a distance, red and blue lights flashing against the clouds. Every major network had gone live, and Cole Aerodynamics was trending worldwide. The CEO who mocked a homeless man, now publicly connected to the mysterious pilot who had taken control of her company's aircraft. But for Vanessa, it wasn't about headlines anymore. It was about the face behind that cockpit. The man she once knew as Elijah Cole. Her phone rang again, this time from the control tower. Miss Cole, the pilot says he'll only talk to you, the operator said urgently. He's refusing to land until you come to the rooftop helipad. Vanessa's grip tightened around her phone. If I go up there, can you guarantee my safety? Ma'am, the operator replied. We can't guarantee anything right now. The line went dead. She turned to David, whose face was pale but resolute. He's calling me up there, she said. He wants to talk face to face. David nodded slowly. Then go. But be careful. He's not the same man you remember. The elevator ride to the roof felt endless. The hum of the machinery echoed in the narrow shaft, each second stretching her nerves tighter. When the doors opened, the wind hit her hard, whipping her hair around her face. The helicopter circled once before descending onto the helipad, its blades beating the air like thunder. The moment it landed, the engine cut off and silence fell, thick, heavy, electric. The cockpit door opened. The man stepped out slowly, wearing the same tattered clothes as before, but there was something commanding in the way he moved. His presence filled the space like he belonged there, not as a homeless man, but as a pilot reclaiming his purpose. Elijah, she whispered, her voice almost lost to the wind. He stopped a few steps away, his gaze steady, unreadable. It's been a long time, Vanessa. She swallowed hard, trying to find her words. Why didn't you come to me sooner? Why this? She motioned to the chaos unfolding below. The reporters, the sirens, the flashing lights. Because you wouldn't have listened, he said quietly. You were too busy building walls out of your father's empire. I had to get your attention. Her anger flared through the confusion. By stealing my aircraft and humiliating me in front of the world. He took a step closer. You humiliated yourself when you forgot where you came from. When you forgot what your father died trying to protect. The words hit her harder than she expected. My father died in an accident, she snapped. No, Elijah said firmly. His voice cracking with the weight of truth. It wasn't an accident. It was sabotage. He found out what the board was doing with the military contracts. How they were using experimental tech for covert missions. He tried to stop them. They silenced him. And tried to silence me too. Vanessa's breath caught in her throat. That's impossible. My father would never be part of that. He wasn't, Elijah said, eyes burning. But his company was. And when he tried to shut it down, they made sure the only person left to take the blame was him. The wind roared around them, carrying his words into the night. Vanessa's knees felt weak. Every part of her wanted to reject it, to deny it, but deep inside she knew Elijah wasn't lying. He stepped forward again, pulling something from his jacket, a small black box. This is what they've been hiding, he said. The flight recorder from that night. The proof that changes everything. Her eyes widened. That's impossible. They told me it was destroyed. Elijah shook his head. I've kept it safe all these years. But they know I have it now. That's why they're coming for me. And for you. A distant sound broke through the tension. Sirens, louder now, closing in. Helicopters circled above them. Vanessa turned toward the sky, her heart pounding. Elijah, what did you do? She whispered. He looked at her with the faintest trace of sadness. What I had to. The truth is out there now. And there's no turning back. Before she could speak again, a voice crackled over the loudspeaker from a nearby police chopper. Step away from the aircraft and keep your hands visible. Vanessa's pulse raced. The rooftop lights flashed red, painting everything in a surreal glow. Elijah held the black box tighter. His eyes never leaving hers. This is where it begins, Vanessa, he said softly. The truth your father died for. And as the police closed in and the sound of rotors filled the night, she realized the world was about to change, whether she was ready or not. The rooftop shook as another helicopter swooped overhead, its spotlight cutting through the darkness. Vanessa shielded her eyes, her heart hammering against her ribs. Elijah stood calm, holding the black box close to his chest while police officers surrounded the building below. The loudspeakers repeated the same command. Put down the device and step away from the aircraft. But Elijah didn't move. Vanessa stepped closer to him, shouting over the wind. Elijah, give me the recorder. Let me handle this. You'll be arrested if you don't. He shook his head. You still don't get it, Vanessa. They're not here to arrest me. They're here to erase me. Just like before. Her breath caught. What are you talking about? He turned his gaze toward the police choppers. Those aren't just local authorities. Look closer. Vanessa narrowed her eyes, and then she saw it. The insignia on the aircrafts wasn't from the city's police department. It bore the emblem of a private security firm, Cole Defense Systems. Her own company's covert branch, one she had recently acquired through a merger. A cold wave of dread washed over her. No. That's impossible. They wouldn't. They already have, Elijah cut in, his tone calm but fierce. They've been using your name, your company, to fund operations that your father tried to stop. The people controlling them now. They don't want truth. They want silence. Before she could respond, a loud crack split the air. A warning shot fired near the helipad. Vanessa flinched, stumbling back. Elijah didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on her. They'll do anything to get this recorder, he said, his voice low. And once they have it, the last pieces of truth die with us. Then let me help you, she pleaded. Please, Elijah, trust me. He looked at her for a long, tense moment, the wind whipping his coat. You remind me of your father right now, he said softly. He said the same thing the night before the crash. Before Vanessa could answer, the rooftop access door burst open. David Knox rushed out, his face pale. They're cutting power to the building. You need to move now. The lights flickered, and the sound of approaching boots echoed from below. Elijah glanced toward the door, then back at Vanessa. They're here. David ran to Vanessa's side. He's right. They're not cops, they're company operatives. They're coming to take him out. Vanessa's mind spun. This is my company, she whispered. How could this be happening under my nose? David's expression hardened. Because someone else has been running it behind the scenes. Someone high up on the board. A realization hit her like lightning. There was only one person with enough power to override her. Richard Hale, her father's oldest business partner and now chairman of the board. The man who had guided her after the crash. The one she had trusted more than anyone. Elijah, she said, her voice trembling. Are you saying Richard? Yes, Elijah interrupted. He's the one who ordered the crash. He wanted control of the defense contracts. Your father found out and tried to expose him. I barely made it out alive. Vanessa staggered backward, disbelief clouding her thoughts. The man who had practically raised her had killed her father, and used her to keep his empire alive. The rooftop door slammed open again, and men in tactical gear rushed out, weapons raised. David pulled Vanessa behind a vent, shouting, They're aiming for him. Elijah raised his hands but didn't back away. Vanessa, listen to me, he shouted over the roar. The truth isn't in this box. It's in your company's main server. Everything your father discovered is there. If they destroy it, the world will never know. Gunfire erupted. The black box slipped from Elijah's hand, skidding across the rooftop toward Vanessa. She dropped to her knees, reaching for it as the wind howled and lights flickered around them. Elijah, she screamed. But he was already running toward the edge of the roof, drawing the attention of the men to give her time. For a split second, their eyes met again, hers filled with fear, his with something close to peace. And then, in a flash of chaos, a shot rang out, followed by silence. The spotlight swung wildly, and the sound of the helicopter blades filled the night once more as the city watched, unaware that the truth behind a billion-dollar empire, and one woman's entire life, was seconds away from shattering forever. The night sky blazed with flashing lights as chaos consumed the rooftop. Vanessa's hands shook as she clutched the black box to her chest, the sound of gunfire echoing in her ears. Smoke drifted through the air, and for a moment she couldn't see anything. Not Elijah, not the men in black tactical suits, not even David, who was shouting her name somewhere through the haze. Her heart felt like it was trying to escape her chest. Then, through the smoke, she saw him, Elijah, lying near the edge of the roof, his arm outstretched as if reaching for her. She crawled toward him, every movement trembling with fear. Elijah! Hold on! She cried, her voice breaking. He opened his eyes slowly, his breath ragged. Vanessa, the box, he whispered. It's not just data. It's the access key. The access key to what? She asked, her voice shaking. To your father's hidden files. He locked everything in a secure vault under the company's mainframe. It can only be opened with that box, and your voice. Vanessa stared at him in disbelief. My voice. Elijah nodded weakly. Your father, he built a safeguard. Only his daughter could unlock it. He knew one day you'd need the truth. Before she could respond, the sound of approaching boots filled the air again. David appeared beside her, breathless. Vanessa, we need to go. They're regrouping downstairs. Vanessa's eyes darted to Elijah. We can't leave him. But Elijah's hand caught hers, his grip surprisingly strong. You have to. Don't let my life, or your father's, be for nothing. His voice dropped lower, urgent but steady. Take the box to the mainframe. You'll find the truth there. And Vanessa, don't trust anyone who says they're on your side. She shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. I can't just leave you. He gave a faint, tired smile. You already know how to fly, don't you? Before she could answer, a bullet struck near them, scattering bits of concrete. David pulled her back, shouting, Now, Vanessa! She looked at Elijah one last time, her heart breaking, then forced herself to stand. With the black box clutched tightly, she and David sprinted across the rooftop toward the backup helicopter. The rotors roared to life as gunfire followed them, but they lifted off just in time, soaring into the stormy night. Down below, the city lights blurred into streaks of gold and silver. Vanessa's hands trembled as she stared at the device. David looked at her. Where are we going? To headquarters, she said firmly. If Elijah's right, everything I've ever believed is about to change. When they reached the Cole Aerodynamics headquarters, the building was nearly dark. Vanessa led the way into the server vault, the cold air biting her skin. She placed the black box into a terminal slot. A soft light blinked, followed by a calm automated voice. Voice authentication required. She hesitated, then spoke clearly. Vanessa Cole. The system beep. Identity confirmed. Access granted. The screens around her flickered to life, rows of classified files appearing, evidence of secret government contracts, false crash reports, financial transfers. And at the top, a folder named Project Orion. Vanessa clicked it open. Her father's recorded voice filled the room. If you're hearing this, it means Elijah found you. Vanessa, everything I did was to protect you. Richard Hale betrayed us. But there's more. Project Orion was never about weapons, it was about human testing, using pilots as subjects. Elijah was the first. He survived, but they erased him. Vanessa covered her mouth, trembling. Oh my God! David's eyes widened. They used him. Before she could answer, a voice echoed behind them. Yes. And now, you've just made the same mistake your father did. Vanessa spun around. Standing in the shadows was Richard Hale, calm and composed, holding a silenced pistol. You were never supposed to find this, he said, his tone almost gentle. Your father thought he could expose me. Now you think you can do the same. Vanessa's pulse raced, but she held his gaze. It's over, Richard. The files are already uploading to the cloud. He smiled faintly. Are they? He pressed a button on a small device, and the screens began to flicker, files vanishing one by one. David lunged forward, trying to stop him, but Richard fired a shot, the sound muffled but sharp. David fell to the floor. Vanessa screamed. She grabbed the black box and threw it toward a backup console. Sparks flew as she hit a manual override. Not this time, she whispered. The lights surged, and a voice from the system said, Transmission complete. Data distributed. Richard's expression turned to shock. What did you do? Vanessa stared at him, tears and determination in her eyes. I did what my father died trying to do. I told the world the truth. As sirens wailed in the distance, Richard backed away, his power crumbling. Vanessa stood still amid the flashing red lights, clutching the black box, her heart heavy but unbroken. And just as the building doors burst open with federal agents storming in, a faint sound came through her earpiece. A voice, rough but alive. Elijah here, it said softly. Told you you'd fly, Vanessa. Her breath caught. She turned toward the city skyline, tears welling as a single helicopter light blinked far in the distance. Tears streamed down Laura's face as the heavy silence of the courtroom lifted. Richard stood there motionless, his expression stripped of arrogance, wealth, and pride. For the first time in years, he didn't look like the powerful billionaire everyone feared. He just looked like a broken man who finally understood what he had destroyed. The truth had come out, the lies had shattered, and all that was left between them was raw honesty. The audience watched in complete silence, the air thick with emotion as the judge's gavel fell, marking not an end, but a turning point. After the hearing, Laura stepped outside, the sunlight warm against her skin. She could breathe again. No money, mansion, or luxury car could ever replace the peace she felt in that moment. Life had taught her that love without respect was just another form of imprisonment. Richard slowly approached her, his eyes softer than she had ever seen them. "I know I can't undo what I did," he said quietly. "But I want to change, even if it's too late for us." Laura gave a faint, weary smile. "Change for yourself, not for me," she replied, her tone calm but resolute. Months passed, and Laura started a small foundation helping women who had gone through similar struggles. Her story became a symbol of strength, proof that even after betrayal and heartbreak, a person could rebuild their life from nothing. People admired her courage and humility, seeing how she turned pain into purpose. Her words during interviews often resonated deeply. "Sometimes, losing everything is how you finally find yourself." Meanwhile, Richard took a step back from his billion-dollar empire. For the first time, he lived without assistance or private jets. He started volunteering at a local shelter, quietly funding programs that helped struggling families. It wasn't about image anymore. It was about redemption. One afternoon, he saw a young couple at the shelter, arguing, scared, lost, and he recognized the same patterns he once created. He didn't lecture them. He simply helped them find a place to stay. In that moment, he understood what Laura had meant all along. Fate, however, wasn't done with them yet. A year later, at a charity gala Laura's foundation hosted, Richard appeared unexpectedly, not as a guest of honor, but as a silent donor. Their eyes met across the room. There was no tension this time, no bitterness, only quiet understanding. When Laura went up to speak, her voice trembled slightly. "Life has a strange way of teaching us lessons," she said, glancing in Richard's direction. "Sometimes the people who hurt us the most also end up helping us become who we were meant to be." As the crowd applauded, Richard smiled faintly, then slipped away before anyone noticed. Laura didn't chase him. She didn't need to. Some stories don't end with getting back together. They end with forgiveness and growth. That night, as she stood under the stars outside the venue, she whispered softly, "Thank you for the lesson." And for the first time in a long while, her heart felt free. The pain had turned into peace, the scars into strength, and the end had quietly become a new beginning. In the end, wealth fades, power changes hands, but compassion, earned through heartbreak and healing, remains forever.